I'm Rosalie. I want to say thank you also to Noreen and Kristen and everybody else here who's been so helpful over the last year. It's been a great opportunity, and congratulations to the new fellows. I'm going to read from a novel that I'm working on. The main character is, it's 1966, and the main character is an American woman who's spying for the Soviets in Argentina, but we also get some flashbacks to her wayward youth. And in this section, she's just been sent to juvenile detention for stealing a car. This is actually based on something that happened to my mom, who was a much more colorful teenager than I was. The Maryland Youth Center was a brick building on a low rise, stranded on a treeless waste that looked like a scalp shaved for hygienic reasons. The windows had metal grates across them, which was to prevent both escapes and suicide attempts, although the building reached a height of only 3 stories. I was told that the thick hedge of yews around the building had been planted after a bad run in which 3 girls had jumped from the roof in the space of 2 weeks and broken their ankles on the pavement. There is no place on this earth where suicide is more freely discussed than in a juvenile detention center for girls. There were boys too, actually, but we never saw them. They were kept in the other half of the building, and even at mealtimes we were separated. My roommate was small and blonde with her eyes set far apart, and when the lights went out at night, she would begin a monologue about what she would do if given half an hour on the other side of the wall with the boys that reached Baroque heights of filth. She talked about doing things that I had never heard of, and her tone slipped bafflingly back and forth between delight and rage. She was from a farm out near Hagerstown, and I got the sense that she viewed the Maryland Youth Center as an edifying change of pace. When I first arrived, I was ushered into a small room by a woman with thinning hair shellacked into a bun. She told me to strip and gave me a smock to wear that had a number inked on it near the collar. I learned later from the other girls that if I had had a pocketbook with me, they would have confiscated it, and they would have made a special point about destroying any makeup that they found. "They don't just throw it away," said a girl who had cut most of her own hair off with sewing scissors. "They run it under hot water and mash it together in front of you. I had a coral long comb." She shook her head. Her eyes were wet. "A coral fucking long comb." About 1/3 of the girls were there on grounds of immorality, and that usually meant they were pregnant. Some of them were showing, but most weren't, because once you were showing, they would send you to St. Catherine's Home in Delaware, which was a worse prison than the Maryland Youth Center. At St. Catherine's Home, there were no visitors of any kind, and if someone called for you, they would say they had never heard of you. It was because of the immorality that they took away the makeup. The pregnant girls would congregate in the day room after breakfast, and a woman from a church would come and teach them to crochet. And then there were the girls who frightened the rest of us, whose offenses were only rumored because they were so feral they couldn't be questioned. One girl had cut a boy's face with a razor. Another had broken her little sister's arms, both of them. Another girl, the one who most horrified and fascinated the staff and the rest of us, actually straddled the line between the 2 types of offenses. She was both violent and pregnant. Every 3rd day she was confined to the solitary rooms on the 2nd floor for tearing out clumps of hair or bloodying noses. She scratched at first, and then they sedated her and cut her nails. She would wait out her time in solitary, and when she came out, she would be exactly unchanged. She threw her relative freedom away each time with a new fight over nothing, which I thought was kind of aristocratic, how little she cared. She was showing, but no one talked about transferring her. She was like something painted on a vase, a pregnant Medusa. Her haircut looked involuntary, short like a child's and crooked across the bangs, as if she'd been coming out of sedation when it happened. And she was too tall for her smock, so it showed her knees and pulled on her arms, bending her into a parenthesis. Thank you.